Hello students, welcome to the session. In the previous session, we had talked about the genetic material, that is the DNA, the structure of the genetic material, right? We had learned how to draw the double-stranded polynucleotide chain, right? We had looked at the characteristics of the double helix of the DNA, and even we had seen the packaging of the DNA, right? In today's session, let us look into the early experiments which focused on the search of the genetic material. So, the title that we are going to study in the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance today is The Search for Genetic Material. So, the search for genetic material means they knew. That means in the previous chapter you already have studied the Mendelian theorem or Mendelian principles, right? And various other scientists, they also had contributed to the classical genetics, right? So there they had known already, they already had an idea about what is inheritance and how the characteristics are inherited from generation to generation, right? But they did not know which molecule is basically responsible for the inheritance, right? Today we know that is DNA, right? Today we know the genetic material can be DNA, and in some viruses that can be also RNA. This point we know. But then they did not know which molecule is exactly the genetic material, right? So in the year 1926, the quest for the genetic material, the quest or the search for the genetic material started, right? So various scientists like T.H. Morgan, it can be, or Walter Sutton, and even the Mendel. So all these people, they contributed in their own way, and even though they concentrated more on the study of genetic material at the chromosomal level, they knew what is the genetic material, they knew what is the function of genetic material, they also had known about the chromosomes. But they had no idea what is that chromosome basically made up of. What is that molecule that is present in the chromosome and which is responsible for the inheritance of the characteristics from one generation to another, right? So in order to know this, various experiments were conducted by different scientists, right? And this actually led to the molecular level study of the genetic material. How did it start, and who was the first experiment conducted? Who is the scientist that conducted first experiment in this regard? That is the name Frederick Griffith. By a scientist by name Frederick Griffith conducted a first experiment in this regard. Okay, or you can say the experiment conducted by Frederick Griffith became the first experiment in proposition of the molecular structure of the genetic material or the DNA, right? So that experiment conducted by Frederick Griffith is called as transforming principle experiment. So transforming principle experiment, or simply called as transforming principle. So as I just told you, it was conducted by Frederick Griffith in the year 1928. Okay, Frederick Griffith, he was working with a particular bacterium called Streptococcus pneumoniae. Streptococcus pneumoniae is the name of the bacterium on which Frederick Griffith was working. This is commonly also called as pneumococcus. Okay, that means it is the bacterium causing pneumonia in mammals. So you know pneumonia. So pneumonia is caused by Streptococcus pneumoniae. So he was working with this bacterium basically to find the medicine or the antibiotic in order to prevent the infection of this particular bacterium and to get rid of the disease called pneumonia, right? Well, while he was working with this particular bacterium, he noticed that in the same species of Streptococcus pneumoniae, there were two different types. In the same species, there were two different strains or two different types. Two strains. He identified two different strains. They were called as S strain and R strain. S strain and R strain. So why were they called so? S stands for smooth and R stands for rough. Why is that called so? Because here the S strain or the smooth strain had got a polysaccharide layer. A mucous membrane or a mucous polysaccharide layer was present on the outermost layer. Mucous or polysaccharide layer present on the outermost layer, right? And because of that, because of the presence of the mucous membrane or the polysaccharide membrane, so they appear shiny. So in the colony, see, in the Petri plate, if these bacteria are cultured on appropriate nutrient medium, so they produced very shiny, glistening colonies, glittering colonies, right? So that is why they are all glittering, or you can say shiny colonies. Colonies were produced. Smooth, glistening or shining colonies were produced by this particular bacteria, whereas these were called as rough because so there was no mucous membrane, no mucus or polysaccharide layer. So because of the absence of the polysaccharide layer or the mucous membrane, they were very pale colored. These were very brightly colored, they were shiny, their surface was shiny and also glistening, whereas these produced very dull colonies, dull, pale colored colonies, and on the colony they gave a rough appearance. Okay, very pale colored rough appearance was given by these particular bacteria called R strain. Not only that, when he conducted an experiment after identifying these two different strains of bacteria, strain means a type. Okay, so when he identified the S strain and R strain, now he went on to do the further part of the experiment with both of these strains. When he injected S strain to a mouse, when he injected the S strain to a mouse, the mouse developed pneumonia and the mouse died. Right? That means S strain is considered to be virulent or disease causing or pathogenic, whereas when R strain was injected to a healthy mouse, the mouse survived without developing any pneumonia. It did not die and it went on surviving. That means this R strain was non-harmful, it was not causing disease, it was non-virulent or non-pathogenic. So this is another conclusion that was given by Frederick Griffith about these two strains. That is, the S strain is pathogenic one, S strain is pathogenic or virulent, right? Whereas the R strain is non-pathogenic or non-virulent. Okay, that means it does not cause any disease or it does not cause any harm to any organism on which it infects, right? So this experiment was not over here, right? See, the transforming principle experiment, why it is called so, see, we will understand once we study the further part of this experiment. See, the first thing what he did, he took the S strain, injected to a mouse. Okay, the mouse, what happened to the mouse? Mouse died, right? Mouse died, right? So the mouse was here, this mouse, it was surviving, it was a healthy mouse, but after the injection of the S strain, what happened to the mouse? Mouse just died. Okay, it's a dead mouse. Okay, that means this confirms what? S strain is a virulent strain. It is a disease causing strain. And when R strain was injected to the mouse, a healthy mouse, now the mouse lived. The mouse lived. So here it was a healthy mouse here. Okay. Then the healthy mouse remained. It was in the live condition, living condition. See, from the dead mouse, the blood sample of the dead mouse, the blood sample showed the presence of S strain. So when it was tested, it showed the presence of the S strain, once again confirming what? Because of the S strain, the infection was caused to the mouse, and because of that infection, the mouse died. And still the S strain are living, the live S strain bacteria are still there in the blood of the dead mouse. Okay? Now, when R strain was injected to the healthy mouse, the mouse did not die, it lived, and the blood of this mouse, when it was tested, blood sample, it showed live R strain, once again confirming, even though the R strain was living there in the blood of this mouse, there was no harm to the mouse, which means that R strain is non-harmful. It is not causing any disease, right? So he did not stop there. For his curiosity, he continued the experiment. In the next step, what does he do? See here, he knew S strain is virulent, disease causing. R strain is non-virulent. Now what he did do? What did he do? He conducted various trial and error methods. He conducted various trials. Then in one of those trials, what he considered was heat killed S strain combined with live R strain. Okay, the R strain bacteria was living, but the S strain bacteria was killed by heating it at certain temperature. Now the mixture of these two, the heat killed S strain and R strain, once again was injected to a healthy mouse. Now what can you expect? What can you expect? See, you know the S strain is the virulent strain, right? R strain is the non-virulent strain. Now what has he done? He has taken the S strain, which is dead, it is heat killed, right? And he has taken the living R strain, and R strain is not virulent, it is not harmful anymore, right? So when it was injected to the mouse, what would you expect the mouse to do now? What would you expect to happen with the mouse now? Mouse died. Yes, mouse did not survive, it was dead. How is that? See, to his wonder, see, he was also expecting the mouse to survive because he had not taken the live S strain. He had taken the heat killed S strain. When he tested the blood sample, when it was tested of the dead mouse, for his wonder, he did not find the live R strain, nor he did find the dead S strain. He found what? He found live S strain. He found live S strain. How was it possible? Okay, so this was the wonder even to him. Later, by his investigations, he concludes that yes, what must have happened here is, see, the genetic material of the S strain might have entered into the body of the R strain. The genetic material from the bacterium S strain. Imagine this is the S strain. Imagine this is the R strain. See, it was heat killed, right? Even though it was heat killed, the protein coat was made inactive, but the genetic material inside was still alive, and this genetic material, when it entered into the R strain body or into the cell of the R strain bacterium, it got a new favorable condition, and this genetic material got expressed in the body of the R strain, and it also made the R strain bacteria to develop the smooth glistening layer or the polysaccharide layer on its outer membrane, and also the S strain got the virulence capacity, and in short we can say R strain was completely converted into or transformed into S strain. R strain was completely transformed into S strain because of the transferring of genetic material in this mixture of heat killed S strain and live R strain, and that is why he could find live S strain instead of live R strain or heat killed S strain. What was found? Live S strain was found, right? So by this experiment he proved that there is a characteristic feature in bacteria because of the transfer of genetic material, and that is what is called transformation. He did not know which material basically is responsible for this transformation. Today we can say it is DNA, right? Then he knew this genetic material, some genetic material is there which is responsible and that is causing the transformation, but he did not know what is that basically, what is the chemical nature or molecular nature of that molecule. He did not know. That is why he could not say whether it is DNA or it is RNA or it is protein or lipid or carbohydrate. He did not have an idea. That is why he only called it as transforming principle. He only called it as transforming principle, that is responsible for the conversion or transformation of R strain into S strain. Yes, so this experiment proved that transformation is possible because of genetic material, but still it was left half. Though it spilled light, though it paved the way for the further set of experiments in the quest of or in the search for genetic material, but still it was incomplete. The incomplete experiment or the incomplete information that was provided by the end of the Griffiths experiment, the transformation principle experiment, is also known as Griffiths experiment because it was proposed by Frederick Griffith. Okay, see, he only could conclude there is some molecule, there is some material which is nothing but the genetic material, and that is responsible for the transformation of the bacterium one strain into another, that is the R strain into S strain. Now it was necessary for the biochemical characterization of that particular molecule that was responsible for transformation, and that experiment, now it is called as, what is it called as? Biochemical characterization of transforming principle. Biochemical characterization of transforming principle. See, he called it as transforming principle. Who? Frederick Griffith. He just called it as transforming principle, but he could not say, he failed to say what was that transforming principle basically or molecularly, right? Now another three different scientists. Who are those? Oswald Avery, Macklin McCarthy, Oswald T. Avery, Macklin McCarthy, and Colin MacLeod. Colin MacLeod. See, these three people in the year 1933 to 34, they conducted a set of experiments to provide the biochemical nature of that transformation principle. In fact, they continued the experiment that was left halfway by Frederick Griffith. What did they do? They took the same experimental setup as Griffith, right? They considered the Streptococcus pneumoniae, the R strain and S strain of the Streptococcus pneumoniae they considered. They knew already by Griffith's experiment that S strain is virulent and R strain is non-virulent, right? And they also knew that when by mixing the heat killed S strain and live R strain, there was transformation taking place. All this idea they already had from the Griffiths experiment. Now, with that background idea, what experiment they considered or what experiment they proceeded with, right? See, they discovered certain enzymes, and those enzymes could digest proteins, carbohydrates and lipids. Okay, they discovered proteases, You know, you have already learned in the biomolecules chapter, proteins can be digested with the help of the certain enzymes. The set of enzymes which can digest the proteins, they are called as proteases, and they also discovered lipases are the enzymes which can digest the lipids. They also discovered the carbohydrases. They also discovered the RNAs. They also discovered the DNAs. See, when you write RNAs, DNAs, you should not use the capital letter here. If you are using the capital letter here, such as DNAs, then it becomes the plural form of DNA. That means you are referring to more than one DNA molecule. Okay? Here if you use the small a and e at the end, that becomes an enzyme which can digest RNA and DNA respectively. Now, with the discovery of these, they wanted to prove that which particular molecule is basically responsible. Okay, so by their period, it was almost confirmed, or it was almost sure for those people that protein is genetic material. Protein itself is a transforming principle which is causing the transformation of the R strain into S strain, right? But we today know that it is not protein, it is DNA, right? How was it proved by these people? Let us look into that interesting experiment now. What did they do was, they considered both heat killed S strain, HK means heat killed S strain, and R strain, live R strain, right? See, they ground both of the mixture of both of these bacteria, and the ground mixture was injected to the mouse. As usual, it was injected to mouse, but before injecting to the mouse, this ground mixture was treated with protease. See, you know, the proteases are the enzymes which can digest the proteins. That means whatever the proteins were there in the ground mixture, right? Whatever the proteins were there in the ground mixture, they were completely digested. That means by treating with the protease enzyme, they removed all the proteins from this mixture. Now, whatever the mixture is injected to this mouse, there is no protein at all. Yes? So, if at all, if the protein itself is genetic material or the transforming principle, then mouse should survive, because if protein itself is genetic material that is removed already, then there is no transformation of S strain, R strain into S strain. There is no transformation at all. When there is no transformation, there is no virulence nature and there is no death. But here mouse died, which confirmed that protein is not the molecule. Which molecule? The transforming principle molecule. That is not that. Okay, so this confirms that protein is not genetic material, or protein is not the transforming principle. Now they continued. Now see, they also injected this mixture to another healthy mouse. This time they removed, of course the protein is not the one, it's already confirmed, right? Now this time they removed the lipids by treating that mixture with lipase. So now they are removing the lipids, and now lipid removed mixture is injected to the mouse. If at all lipid is the transforming principle, then mouse should survive. But mouse died. So this confirmed what? Lipid is not transforming principle. Lipid is also not the transforming principle, right? Next time, what did they do? They injected to a mouse by treating the mixture with RNAs. Okay, they removed all the RNA molecules. Now, if at all, if the RNA is the genetic material or the transforming principle, this mouse should have been dead. But that did not happen, right? See, I mean, the mouse should have been survived if at all the RNA is genetic material, right? But once again, the mouse died, which means that there is still some transforming principle which is neither RNA nor lipids nor the proteins, right? That is why the transformation is causing. That means at all these experiments, in all these trials of the experiments, what is happening? Even when the proteins were removed, the transforming principle was still there, which was causing the transformation of the R into S strain, and that is why the S strain, after into the heat killed S strain, that was developed in the body of the mouse, and that is why the mouse was infected with pneumonia and it was dead. In all these cases, it happened like this. Now, in another trial, what did they do? See, they injected to the mouse, healthy mouse, but this time they treated this with DNase, the enzyme deoxyribonuclease. Here, ribonuclease, right? When it was treated with the DNase enzyme, obviously mouse lived. Okay? So, by this, they concluded what? The genetic material or the transforming principle which was told by Griffith is not protein, is not lipid, is not carbohydrate, is not RNA, but it is DNA. Okay? So DNA is the transforming principle. The DNA is the transforming principle. This is the molecule that is responsible for the transformation of R strain into S strain. This is the molecule that is responsible for inheritance of the characteristics from one generation to another generation. Okay, the molecular nature of the molecule, which was known as transforming principle, is now revealed by the experiment conducted by these three scientists, and this experiment is popularly known as biochemical characterization of transforming principle, right? So these two experiments, even the Griffiths experiment and this experiment, are both very important experiments for your examination. So you need to learn, you need to understand, and you should be able to explain with the necessary diagrams, not for this experiment, at least for the Griffiths experiment, simple reaction like diagrams, okay? And they can be asked for 3 or 5 marks. In the next session, we are going to consider another experiment in the same regarding the same thing.